Aloha kakayaka e Hawaii. This is Pokalai Nui, and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. The time now is 8.5 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock in the Sunday newspaper, and today is the 3rd day of June in the year 2012. We have a number of articles that I wanted to comment on. First is just to note that according to Lee Cataluna and according to her reporter Ben Cayetano, Cayetano irons his own clothes and his own money. He was given a lay of dollar bills, and he was found buying books and paying with crispy dollar bills that he had ironed. You could still see the fold in the bills. And that was a while back. However, the continuing article talks about whenever he goes on business trips, he always irons his own clothes, and normally at home he irons his own clothes, and he finds it relaxing, according to the article. How many of you iron your own clothes? Is that outdated? I think it's a matter that not many people talk about. I know that I iron my own clothes as well. And it may be a phenomena that comes out of a particular generation. Is that the case? I count myself in the same generation as Ben. He's a little older than I am, but generationally we come from the 50s and the 60s. And if I wanted clothes that was ironed, I'd have to do it myself. That's the way I grew up. And I still do it. And it seems that Ben Cayetano is still doing it. With regards to other things happening in the news, in the U.S., the jury has found John Edwards, a former candidate for president, not guilty on one charge and a mistrial on 6 other counts. And so we'll see whether or not he will be brought to trial for the other counts. It seems somewhat convoluted to accuse him of violating the spending rules with regards to campaign for hiding the fact that he had a paramour, a woman who he had a child with while he was still married, and the money had been contributed to him. Whether or not it was supposed to be used as part of his campaign or not is questioned, but it was used to essentially hide the fact that he had a girlfriend, and it appeared also that he was continuing with this affair while he was married. So to hide certain family relationships or private relationships from the public, is that a criminal act? Obviously, the jury found it not to be. To hide funding that was supposed to be meant for a campaign, but to use it, not hide the funding, but to use money supposedly for a campaign, but to use it to hide a personal affair, is that a criminal act? Well, in this case, the jury, it seems, was not convinced that the money was dedicated for financing a campaign, and it seems that he had the option, based on the contributor, to use the money either for his campaign or for hiding his relationship with his girlfriend. And that's what it looks like the jury came out with. Whether or not you agree with it or not, that's not what the jury said. I think in a criminal case, you need to be able to show beyond a reasonable doubt that this is what the law says, and these are the facts that constitute a violation of the law. In this particular case, the question of what the law said was somewhat murky, and so the jury did not want to find him liable for a criminal act when the law was so uncertain. As to the other issues, it's still, or they had a hung jury, and so that's still undecided. Other things that have been mentioned in the Sunday newspaper is with regards to the U.S. First, well, it doesn't talk about first having made accusations that Iran was carrying out a cyber attack against the United States, and then it shows that this never occurred. But then you had that suggestion that, well, Iran is probably thinking about it, and therefore they should be, it should constitute some kind of crime or some kind of violation by thinking about it. It's the same way they're dealing with the issue of nuclear weapons. Although Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, and we cannot prove that they are building a nuclear weapon, they're probably thinking about it, and therefore they are guilty of some crime, and we should prepare to attack Iran, if not economically, or if not by our nuclear weapons, or by some physical attack. We should at least put up an economic attack against Iran, which is what the United States is now doing, and trying to encourage others to join in this campaign. With regards to the cyber weapons, what we are finding now is that if there is a cyber war going on, and there seems to be one, it is the United States who has been conducting this cyber war against Iran. And at the present time, it seems the general persuasion, or the general evidence, is in support of the fact that the United States itself is conducting this attack. This article comes from Richard Ladner out of the Associated Press, and it's datelined Washington, it appears. It says the Obama administration is warning American businesses about an unusually potent computer virus that infected Iran's oil industry, even as suspicions persist that the United States is responsible for secretly creating and unleashing cyber weapons against foreign countries. Okay, that's a lead paragraph. It continues within the article. Suspicions about the U.S. government's role in the use of cyber weapons were highlighted, or were heightened, by a report in Friday's New York Times. Based on anonymous sources, it said President Barack Obama secretly had ordered the use of another sophisticated cyber weapon known as Stuxnet, S-T-U-X-N-E-T, Stuxnet, to attack the computer system that run Iran's main nuclear enrichment facilities. The order was an extension of a sabotage program that the Times said began during the Bush administration. Private security researchers long have suspected that the U.S. and Israeli governments were responsible for Stuxnet. But the newspaper's detailed description of conversations in the Oval Office among Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, and the CIA director about the U.S. government's responsibility for Stuxnet is the most direct evidence of this to date. U.S. officials rarely discuss the use of cyber weapons outside of classified settings. The White House, well, let me continue elsewhere. According to White House spokesman Josh Ernst, he said, that information is classified for a reason, and it is kept secret. What a redundant statement. It is intended not to be publicized because publicizing it would not pose, or would pose, a threat to our national security. So in essence, there's a grand admission that the United States has been behind this attack. Is this attack legal? Well, according to U.S. laws, it's somewhat uncertain. If someone attacked your computer, some way developing a particular strain of virus that could go into your computer and destroy it, would you consider that to be a criminal act? Would it be considered a violation of your rights? Well, when one country invades and attacks another country based on its computer system, would you consider that to be a violation of international relations? I think I would, and I think the U.S. and Israel are probably the most aggressive countries, destroying advantages that other countries have, advantages in its development of its computerized system. The U.S. essentially has no business doing the kind of stuff that they are doing, and it's a shame, and people should be speaking up against that, against the U.S. Engagement there. Okay, our telephone number here is 524-1080 if you would like to call and share an opinion on these matters. I will be talking about other matters in a moment, and the other matters that I wish to talk about is an evaluation of Memorial Day, how Memorial Day has been converted into a glorification of veterans because of the or highlighting the fact that we have so many who are injured and not being appropriately cared for. And then I want to talk about post-traumatic stress syndrome or disorders, and how that seems to be turning into, and it's not necessarily so, but it seems to be turning into a veteran illness, and why there's so much attention being paid to that particular disorder, and focusing it basically on the veterans. We'll talk a little bit more about that. First, I want to go to some music, and we'll be right back after that. This is Polka Lai Nui, and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri on radio station KWAI 1080 on your AM dial.
Kaulana nā pua o Hawaii, Kupa'a mahope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala pala anunu me ka paka. Mane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave, Koku ana honoa o Pilani, Ka ko'o mai kaua I o mano, Pa'apu me ke one o ka kuhi hewa. Aolea e kau I ka pulima, Maluna o ka pepa o ka enemi, Po'ohui ai nā ku ai hewa, I ka pono sivila a o ke kanaka. Aole makoa e mina, I ka pu'u kala o ke au puni, Ua lava mai